UFC 292 is falling apart, and it's went from being one of the best, most anticipated cards of the entire year to being something that's not even bare minimum. It's below average. Okay, this is a horrible card right now. Cody Garbrandt has just pulled out, and that's not the end-all be-all. That's not the reason why this card is falling apart. We've had so many fights fall off, and it's not even the UFC's fault. That's the first thing I want to get out of the way. This is not a UFC rant. How dare you give us such a terrible card? At the end of the day, you can't control these fighters pulling out, but I just want to show you guys how terrible it actually is. And this is going to be a rant. Like, at the end of the day, again, not the UFC's fault. They put on a really good card. They stacked it. They can't control these guys falling off, but it just absolutely sucks, man. And I'm not even going to act like this isn't annoying me to the max. So I'm going to show you guys UFC 292, the horrific scene that we have left. All right, so we know that the main event is amazing. We're not losing that. I'm incredibly excited for Aljamain Sterling and Sean O'Malley, but let's be honest. These guys needed a stacked undercard to really sell this pay-per-view. The main event is decent, but guys, is it that much better than Aljamain Sterling and Henry Cejudo, to be honest? Like, it's all right. It's a little bit more hype because Sean O'Malley's a bigger name and he's, got a really entertaining style. And if he knocks out Aljo, that'll be crazy. But like, dude, Zhang Weili, Amanda Lemos, sure. That's a good title fight. It is what it is. Let's not get too into the weeds on this one. This is the first place where I'm going to be really upset. Ian Gary was supposed to fight Jeff Neal. All right, that was a massive matchup. Ian Gary versus one of the most dangerous strikers on the block, bro. On the block, straight up. Neil Magny is one of the most boring fighters in UFC history. I hate watching Neil Magny fight, even when people destroy him, which is the only way in which he could possibly be entertaining. It's usually anticlimactic. Even when this guy loses, it's not like, oh, he got KO'd stiff. It's he got taken down and slowly but surely submitted. Like, it's not ever entertaining with this guy. And if Ian Gary beats Neil Magny, we don't really learn that much from this fight. We just know that he's not an absolute fraud to the max. And if he loses, then we're going to see one of the most boring fights you could ever imagine, where Neil Magny just clinches with Ian Gary for 15 minutes. And it's just one of those situations where Ian Gary and Jeff Neal was amazing. It was so hype. This sucks. This is a terrible fight. I don't care how hardcore you are. Oh, relax. It's still Neil Magny. He's a veteran. He's one of those veterans that you don't want to see. You know what I mean? Neil Magny is one of those guys where he's like the opposite of RDA. People respect RDA. I want to see RDA. You don't want to see Neil Magny in the cage often. You know what I mean? So this is not a good fight. This is Ian Gary versus your typical fraud checker, but the fraud checker in this case is a clinch him up for 15 minutes style. Cody Garbrandt, Mario Batista, off the card. There's nothing to even discuss. It's not even on the card anymore. Marlon Vera, Pedro Munoz. I like both of these guys. Marlon Vera is entertaining. He hits like a truck. Pedro Munoz has a granite chin. He hits like a truck. Both of these guys have amazing chins. They're going to strike. But Pedro Munoz is not this like bite down on the mouthpiece monster like he was in the Cody Garbrandt fight. And because of that, we're probably going to see a bit of a tit-tat decision. And it's going to be like the Pedro Munoz and Chris Gutierrez fight. He's been able to drop people at certain moments and have some decent wins where he can have some high output, but he's not that entertaining. You know what I mean? Come on. Let's stop the bullshit and acting like Pedro Munoz is some dynamite fighter that goes out there and puts on a fucking war every time. All right? He's like the most boring ranked opponent you could have Marlon Vera fight. Like, if you're thinking of give Marlon Vera an amazing matchup, well, I'm going to do Cheeto versus Cejudo. That's amazing. That was a fight that we had on this card. And now it's Pedro Munoz instead. Even Song Yadong, a rematch with Song Yadong would have been amazing. But if that's the second best fight on the card, this card absolutely sucks. Chris Weidman, Brad Tavares. That's an interesting fight only because we kind of expect Chris Weidman to get embarrassed and sent back to the retirement home. It's not that good. You know what I mean? Like, if he wins, it'll be shocking. It'll be a feel-good, wholesome moment. But, like, is that going to dominate the card outside of the main event? A wholesome moment? Chris Weidman finally get to win? Is this going to make your entire day? Is this going to be worth the $80? I don't know. I don't know if Chris Weidman somehow turning it around is going to be worth the $80. he's old. He's washed up. He hasn't won a fight in forever, bro. Like, he's not that good at this point. But this is not main card worthy. Gregory Rodriguez, Dennis Tululin. I mean, like, bro, don't even try to act like this is a big fight. Austin Hubbard, Kurt Holoba. You think I give a fuck about Kurt Holoba? Andre Petroski and Gerald Meerschaert. This is a great fight. I don't know why it's below Austin Hubbard and Kurt Holoba. I guess this is, the tough fight that they're going to put on here. I would have liked to see Andre Petroski and Gerald Meerschaert even ahead of Chris Weidman, for goodness sakes, because I think it's a better matchup. That's a good fight. Andrea Lee, Natalia Silva. I don't give a fuck about this fight. Karine Silva, Mariana Moroz. I don't care, bro. I don't even try to convince yourself that you're excited for that. Nobody is thinking about Karine Silva and Mariana Moroz. So this is kind of what I'm trying to get to. Where are the good fights? Petroski, Gerald Meerschaert, 1. Okay? Gregory Rodriguez, Tululin, bro, listen, save it. All right? Don't even try to act like, oh, what are you saying? That's a really good fight. It's one of those fights. It's like, okay, relax. It's not that good. Cody Garbrandt's gone. Neil Magny, Ian Gary. Jesus Christ. We could have had Neil Magny not even fighting on this card would have been amazing. You know what I mean? The fact that he's even on it. It's almost like it's even worse. I would have rather Ian Gary just not even fight. Like, I'm not even kidding. Ian Gary fighting Neil Magny completely ruins it. I don't want to see Neil Magny in the cage at all, bro. This is the worst late notice replacement. I can't believe I saw a couple of fire emojis in Instagram comment sections. Like, what are you guys hyped for? This is the most boring fighter on the fucking roster. This guy's boring as fuck, dude. Oh my gosh. We could have had Ian Gary potentially go in there, have an elusive, standing at range, picking Jeff Neal apart for 3 rounds, or Jeff Neal going out there and knocking Ian Gary's lights out, bro. Taking him out, fraud checking him for real, not just clinching him up against the fence and killing his hype. Like, imagine you lose to Neil Magny. It's going to be the most pathetic loss possible. And Ian Gary, what if he beat Jeff Neal? What if he KO'd him with a head kick? That would have been amazing. Even if he finishes Neil Magny, it's like, all right, bro, you finished Neil Magny. You just took a spot on the pay-per-view. Fuck, dude, this card sucks, man. Zhang Weili, Amanda Lemos. What are we doing, man? Listen, I'm not even going to hate on that fight. I actually like Zhang Weili. This is fine. But guys, the reason why this sucks so much is because we could have had Aljamain Sterling, Sean O'Malley, Zhang Weili, Amanda Lemos, Ian Gary, Jeff Neal, Henry Cejudo, and Cheeto Vera, Song Yadong. Okay, Song Yadong was supposed to fight Rob Font, and of course Rob Font got sent over to Corey Sandhagen, and Corey Sandhagen stunk it up, took a crippity crap all over the octagon. And instead of those amazing matchups, we now have Neil Magny. We have no Cody Garbrandt on the card. This isn't even existing anymore, this whole thing right here on screen. And Marlon Vera and Pedro Munoz. Again, I like Pedro Munoz. I like Marlon Vera. It's a good fight. I'm not going to say it's not a good fight, but it's like the least exciting Marlon Vera fight. You understand what I mean? If this was the original matchup, I would have been like, all right, I'm cool with it. But because it was Marlon Vera and Henry Cejudo at one point, it was a million times better. Oh, man. And this is what I want to say. It's not the UFC's fault. You can't control these guys dropping off, but this is one of those situations to where even if you stack the card, sometimes it just ends up getting completely screwed over. And this card's basically cursed at this point, man. It's so unfortunate. It went from being like, again, the 3rd best card of the year outside of maybe 290 and I would say the Izzy card as well. Like, I actually think this on paper, when it was first announced, like we're talking on paper, on Anthony Smith's piece of paper, it was better than UFC 291, Poirier and Gaethje. You know what I mean? Because a couple of fights fell off of that too. 2 of them, 2 big fights fell off of that. Now, it's worse than Aljamain's last card, 100%. It's no better than, what's her name? Amanda Nunes and Irene Aldana. It literally is no better. Like, we still have the Oliveira and Beneil Dariush fight. That's a good fight. And what, are you really going to say Ian Gary and Neil Magny makes it, like, better than that card? Neil Magny is not entertaining. Cody Garbrandt's not on it once again. Marlon Vera, Pedro Munoz, like, okay, it might be a tiny smidge better, but Oliveira and Beneil Dariush. That was the only good fight going into that card. It actually was an entertaining card while it was on. But my point is, this is below bare minimum. Like, the bare minimum card should be a whole lot better than this. Again, don't take this as, this is a disgrace. I can't believe the UFC's doing this. It's not the UFC's fault. It isn't. It's just annoying. That's all. And I just wanted to voice my opinion because I can't fucking stand all of these fights falling off. And it's just like, damn it, we had such a good thing going. Remember that bantamweight card that was put on like back in 2020 where O'Malley fought Eddie Wineland and Cody Garbrandt knocked out Rafael Assunção. And I think we also had Aljamain Sterling and Corey Sandhagen. There were so many good bantamweight matchups. And then there was a title fight on top of that. I think it was a Nunes title fight. That was good, but this one was going to shit all over that one. And now it's like one of the worst cards of the entire year. Again, you're going to say, no, it's not. Relax. It is. I can't stand the fans that say, dude, it's still good. Like, it's not good. Aljamain Sterling, O'Malley, Zhang Wei Li, Marlon Vera, Pedro Munoz, that's it. Neil Magny and Ian Gary, dude, again, Magny ruins it. Right? Chris Weidman, Brad Tavares, you're only interested in that because you secretly want to see Chris Weidman get his ass kicked, or you just kind of want to, oh, maybe he can shock the world. It's not something that you're really on the edge of your seat for. Oh, this is going to be a close fight. It's going to be a good scrap. We kind of know what we're going to get there. Chris Weidman's probably going to end up losing. Gregory Rodriguez, Dennis Tululin. That's actually a decent fight. Gregory Rodriguez is going to go in there to strike. That's what Tululin likes to do. It's going to be an entertaining fight, but it's not really going to have you, pacing back and forth in your apartment thinking about who's going to win this one. And then, of course, we have one of these tough matchups. Andre Petroski, Gerald Meerschaert. That's a good fight, but it's like, dude, these are bare minimum prelim fights to begin with. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time. What is up, guys? It's Lucas Tracy MMA here, and I want to let you guys know that I have something for you, and that's a real food cookbook. Because if you're walking around looking like Chris Dawkins, you got to get that weight off. I don't know if you think you're DC or something, but most people usually don't perform at their best when they're walking around with 30% body fat. So if you're trying to lean out and you still want to eat good, tasty comfort foods, well, you could check out my Real Food Cookbook because I've made it a purpose to have good, tasty foods that you can still eat just without all the processed bullshit, without all the processed ingredients like soy and seed oils. So guys, check out the Real Food Cookbook. Use code MMA for 30% off. The link is in my description. Don't forget that discount.